Alright, so full disclosure, this is now the second time I've tried to record this microphone review, and it's kind of this microphone's fault. Rather than laying it out, I'm just going to roll the footage of the first time I tried to record this review. Not all of it. I got pretty mad. I am going to begin this microphone review in a ridiculous way. I'm going to begin this review holding a $700 microphone rather than clipping it in to the microphone stand that I'd normally use on every one of my microphone reviews. And here's why. I have spent the last 20 to 30 minutes trying to mitigate every little minute level of noise that happens to be coming from this room in an attempt to make this microphone sound audible. And genuinely, the best thing I can do right now is hold it until my heater, which is 2 floors down, turns off. Neumann, you say this microphone is for the home musician. On your home studio page on your website, there's a picture of this microphone. You've definitely omitted something that the home musician needs. So I'm not even going to put the microphone on the stand. I'm just going to touch it to the stand. I'm not boosting this, by the way. It is ridiculous that this does not come with a shock mount. So, the other day, I put out a poll asking what should be my next microphone purchase. On that, I put the TLM 102. And I don't know why I did that. When you look at all the other microphone choices, it's obvious that the TLM 102 is the one all of you are going to pick. And that's like twice the price. Basically shot myself in the foot. But anyways, here it is. Here's what comes in the box. A clip and a mic. You couldn't have included like a bag? I've got my bootleg solution here now, but that should tell you a little bit about what's to come with this mic. Because in my opinion, Neumann has made a very capable microphone that they have purposely nerfed, and it seems like they're doing it for money. This is a very capable microphone that has a lot of weaknesses, and they are things that are very fixable, and frankly, things that should not be present in a $700 microphone. I would venture to guess, if you're here because of the TLM 102. I would further venture to guess you're here because you own a Rode NT1 and you're looking to upgrade, which is why I think the criticisms I have for this microphone are even more warranted. See, the TLM 102 and further the TLM 103 are sort of considered in-game microphones for a home studio setup. Any further than that, you're looking at a flagship microphone for a professional recording studio, which is why all of these shortcomings that come with this microphone play such a large role. We're talking about people that have a very small amount of budget, and if you're shelling out $700 for this microphone, it's probably an investment that you've saved up for a long time ago. And this is probably your first attempt at going into the world of professional audio. You're trying to make a living off of this now. But hey man, before we get into the meat of it, we need to talk about today's sponsor, DistroKid. At this point, you guys know DistroKid. You guys know that I love them. You know that I think that in general, if you're looking to publish your music, you're going to inevitably get to DistroKid. It's an amazing service that puts artists first. I mean, you're going to get the revenue that you earn from your streams for a flat fee of $20 per year. But did you know that DistroKid actually has a bunch of other programs to help support artists besides just streaming revenue? In this continued saga of DistroKid being awesome, they're actually releasing 10,000 custom minted NFTs through their program Sellouts. You can submit to be part of this program and you're going to earn 80% of the sale of your NFT, and you will earn a further 10% of every resale of this NFT. I know many people are worried about the environmental impact of their NFTs and the amount of energy produced when trading. You can rest assured that this is a carbon neutral NFT, which is awesome. And honestly, it's just another cool way that DistroKid is helping out the independent artists to monetize their art, which, as we know, is obscenely important. It is the whole reason this channel exists, to support your art and the crafting of your art. And if you're interested in signing up for DistroKid, you can use the link down in my description below. You will get a discount from that, and it helps me out. With that being said, let's go back to the show. I would venture to guess that if you're here for the TLM 102. And I would also venture to guess you're also an owner of an NT1 looking to upgrade to the TLM 102. It has a flat profile, it has a well-rounded transient response, and it's actually based off of the U87 circuit, which in a roundabout way the TLM 102 is as well. So I think it is a good point of comparison in many ways for this comparison video. So let's talk about some basic info on the TLM 102. I'm just going to read off stuff that you're probably going to hear in every review. The frequency response is pretty much dead flat, except for a 5 dB boost in the 10K to 17K range. So we're going to have a little bit higher, more detailed transient response. It's also got a low end roll off around 60 Hertz, which is pretty standard. And if you look at the frequency response of the Rode NT1, or the theoretical supposed frequency response of the NT1, they look shockingly similar, and I doubt that is an accident. The 102 has a high dynamic range with a max volume level, max sound pressure level of around 132 decibels, which is pretty impressive, although I will note there are other microphones that can get much louder. It's also supposed to have built-in plosive rejection using the grill on the front here. You shouldn't trust it. Pretty poopy on the plosives. Doesn't really seem to be helping. Honestly, it doesn't sound any different than any other condenser would. The TLM 102 is a relatively low output, relatively gain hungry microphone for a condenser, and I need to crank it around 15% more than I would on your average condenser. I usually have it around 3 o'clock, 2 to 3 o'clock whenever I'm powering it. It's also usual for me to have a condenser from like 12 to 1 o'clock. So in general, more gain needed for the 102. I should also note though that every audio interface is pretty much going to be able to power the 102 in varying degrees of audio quality though. It has a low self noise of 12 dBA, although I'll note that is not particularly low. The Rode NT1 actually I believe has 7 dBA. So the Rode NT1 is actually a lower self noise, and the Rode NT1 in general is touted as one of the quietest microphones you can buy. Okay, that's just the specs. You can look those up for yourself. There's nothing special about what I just said. But let's take a look at the NT1 for a second. Let's see what you get for your money. Let's see what you get for around 300 bucks. Obviously, you get the microphone, you get this shock mount, which depending on when you bought the NT1 is either a Rycote Lyre shock mount, a great shock mount for the price, or you have the shock mount that comes with it now, which is a perfectly fine shock mount. You also get a pop filter, which I've actually lost at this point, but if you bought this generation, you get a really good pop filter. You get a pop filter that's double layered and also metal. Now, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure that actually redirects the air downwards, so you actually get even less of a chance of plosives. You also get a carrying case. It's not a great one, it's just a bag, but it's nice to have. This doesn't have it. Now, all of these things combined make for a microphone that is perfect for home studio recording. Low self noise, a really great shock mount, all the things necessary to keep outside noise to a minimum for a condenser microphone. It doesn't just sound good. There's a lot of built-in measures to make sure it's rejecting the environment around you, because Rode knows you're going to be using this thing in a pretty noisy area, which is why this thing annoys me so much. Neumann, you know your audience. You know your audience so well that you made a home studio page of your website with this microphone and its very expensive shock mount as the only sole picture on the page. So why on earth did you not include a shock mount for a $700 home studio mic? The person who's buying this mic probably saved up for months. Not only that, but your threading system is really picky on what you can use with this microphone, to the fact I had to do some research trying to figure out what you can use as an alternative to your proprietary $200 shock mount. And the only thing I found was a Rycote Lyre shock mount that you had to screw in from the sides. It's not screwing into the base, it's bypassing that system because it's proprietary. Or there's another one you can buy that's $300. That's the same price as this mic. Now, the effects of this are written all over the walls of my last 2 videos. That's right. We're going to get a little meta here. Consider these 2 videos like auxiliary reviews for the TLM 102. Listen to the rumble. Are basically separated by the size of the diaphragm, specifically a large diaphragm condenser, the noise it makes when I hit the keyboard. Right. How about tapping on a desk? The reason I got so mad previously when I tried to record this review, and by the way, I left out some footage. I got mad. Oh good, my battery's gonna die. I'm gonna try and film this another day. This is not... The heater, 2 floors down from my apartment, If it turns on, I can't use this mic. This microphone is so sensitive to sounds that are being conducted through the floor that it is downright unusable in a less than ideal environment. I would argue, unless you are in a perfectly ideal environment, this is going to pick up a ton of stuff without a shock mount. And then you've put a massive price jump to where if I want to get the full capability of this microphone using the hardware that you provide, this is not a $700 microphone. This is a $1,000 microphone. If you truly want to cater to the home musician, you need to be reasonable. It doesn't have to be like an amazing shock mount. It just needs to be a shock mount. I mean, my $20 Newer came with a shock mount. Ooh. Was that a dumb idea? And that shock mount, as crappy as it is going to do a lot better than this little clip will. A crappy shock mount is better than nothing at all. I mean, these videos get kind of a decent amount of views, so there's a chance Neumann's going to see this. If so, sorry you had to hear that. Because here's the thing. It sounds really good. When the heater is off, there's no cars outside, when I'm perfectly still, and I'm wearing socks, so my footsteps are padded when I step on my carpeted floor, it's one of the best microphones I've heard on the channel. Acoustic guitar has never sounded this good. I've never heard such a warm, inviting, realistic response from an ambient mic'd guitar cab. The presence boost in the upper mid-range has such a nice control of the sibilance that when you combine it with the mid-range response and that upper presence boost, it's the sound that I aspire to get whenever I'm mixing voiceover. The 102 is genuinely how I would like other microphones to sound. For the most part. The combination of a mid-forward sound with a really well-handled high-end is the sound I try and aspire to create in my recordings. Basically what I'm saying is it sounds like the tuning I'm trying to get to whenever I'm mixing. I should stop using Les Pauls in this set. They move too easily. Beyond the obvious issues that happen from the physical conduction of sound into this microphone, it actually does a decent job at rejecting the room around it. Definitely better than the Rode NT1 does. The NT1 is probably one of the worst microphones I've tested for sound rejection. It has a much more intimate quality than the NT1 does, in my opinion. Look, and I don't say this lightly, the Rode NT1 is incredibly popular on the channel, and the Rode NT1, this one in particular, is one of my favorite microphones I have ever owned. It's one of my darlings, which is why I don't say this lightly. I know this is based off of the U87 circuit, and I know this is based off of the U87 circuit, and frankly, this is a very poor imitation of the U87 as compared to this one. Bear in mind, I love the NT1. This is by no means a bad microphone. I know we have a lot of NT1 fans. I don't want to get too harsh of a backlash. But with all that said, I still cannot recommend the 102 because I know my audience. And I know what you guys are working with. You're working in an environment just like mine where unideal conditions are just around the corner or right in front of you. And for unideal conditions, in the condition this microphone is in, this is not a $700 mic. This is a $900 to $1,000 mic. And it's because Neumann has not included essential pieces that you need to make this work in a home studio environment. But with that being said, you know how these work. We are going to now go to a vocal test with a little bit extra, and then we are also going to do a blind guitar test. You can hear for yourself which one you prefer. And you guys know him. His name is Ethan. He's in a ton of different vocal tests. Go check him out on Instagram. He's an amazing vocalist. Let's hear him sing.
When it gets quiet, my heartbeat, it sounds like my death marching towards me on cold winter ground. Got a morbid obsession and you got one to match. Always checking your pulse, hypochondriac. Nothing hinders the reaper, but he stops in his tracks when I'm laying next to you, yeah. To you. When it gets quiet, my heartbeat, it sounds like my death marching towards me on cold winter ground. Got a morbid obsession and you got one to match. Always checking your pulse, hypochondriac. Nothing hinders the reaper, but he stops in his tracks when I'm laying next to you, yeah. I just want to point out to our studio audience that I got off a bus 30 minutes ago. I took a train straight here, and I'm immediately being driven like a slave to record vocals.
Yeah, it's the Rode shock mount, the Rycote one. It's upside down.
Here we go. Janky Rode shock mount with TLM. Take one. When it gets quiet, my heartbeat, it sounds like my death marching towards me on cold winter ground. Got a morbid obsession and you got one to match. Always checking your pulse, hypochondriac. Nothing hinders the reaper, but he stops in his tracks. When I'm laying next to you, yeah.
Did it work?
This is with the shock mount. This is without, I mean, let me zoom in a bit.
Wait, with janky Rode upside down shock mount, without, there you go. Just turn a Rode one upside down, save
It's
$200.
like it's the same as the Rode. Obviously, as you can see, the shock mount gets rid of a lot of the room noise. Now, that is exacerbated by being in like an old apartment in a city with lots of noise, but I'm sure a lot of you are recording in less than ideal environments. I like the TLM sound more than the Rode overall, which is probably unsurprising given the price point.
I don't know, there's a lot of people on the channel that swear the Rode's better.
Really?
Yeah, I've had that conversation a lot.
Well, they're wrong.
This one really did not want me to finish that song. Alright folks, I hope that was helpful. Sorry I got pretty harsh there. I usually am not that harsh in these reviews. But I had to be honest, especially with this expensive of a microphone. So let me know if you have any solutions beyond that Rycote Lyre shock mount that I already mentioned. We can have a discussion, because I think this is a juicy one. Juicy as a microphone review can be. Anyways, follow me on Instagram at RealAudiohaze if you want to work on a mixing project with me. You can email me at realaudiohaze@gmail.com. And with that, I'll see you in the next video.